Testimony resumed today in the federal sex trafficking trial of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. And today, one of the Combs' former assistants took a stand.
The name Capricorn Clark has come up previously during this federal RICO sex trafficking case against Sean Diddy Combs, which is now in its third week. Today, we got a bigger picture of her troubled work relationship with a disgraced hip-hop mogul.
Things took a dark turn in the courtroom on the 10th day of testimony in the high-profile case against Sean Diddy Combs. One of the most chilling revelations came from a former assistant who said that when Diddy found out she had previously worked at Death Row Records, he warned her, "If anything goes wrong, I might have to kill you." And that wasn't the only troubling detail she shared. The same assistant was later accused of stealing and made to take a lie detector test. But according to her, the experience was terrifying. She claimed the examiner threatened her, saying that if she failed the test, she'd end up in the East River. It felt less like a corporate investigation and more like something straight out of a mob movie. As this testimony unfolded, attention also turned to Cassie Ventura, one of the central witnesses in the case. Reports surfaced that she was in a New York City hospital, possibly in labor. Her due date had already come and gone, and rumors of complications began circulating. The timing is crucial because Cassie's court appearance had been planned carefully around her pregnancy, with just 5 days allotted for her testimony. The court made it clear, once those 5 days were up, she wouldn't be called back, even if labor disrupted things. Adding more complexity to the trial was Capricorn Clark, another former assistant who had worn many hats during her time at Bad Boy Records. She started out as Diddy's personal assistant in 2004 and eventually took on the roles of global brand director and creative director for Cassie. Despite her long-standing professional connection to Cassie, Clark didn't exactly sing her praises on the stand. During cross-examination, Clark criticized Cassie's musical abilities, saying she had some talent but wasn't truly gifted, certainly not on the level of powerhouse vocalists like Mariah Carey. Instead, she described Cassie more as a model than a singer, emphasizing her beauty over her voice.
She knew Cassie had been dating Kid Cudi, but did not tell him. She says she was tasked with looking after Cassie's career, but testified Cassie was not that talented and not very hardworking, but that Combs devoted many resources to supporting her on-again, off-again music career.
Diddy's defense attorney, Mark Agnifilo, used this to suggest that Clark might have a personal bias. He argued she could be jealous, especially since Cassie had a much closer relationship with Diddy. To back this up, he pointed to a text where Clark and her friends referred to Diddy as chocolate, hinting at some possible attraction. He painted a picture of someone possibly bitter over being sidelined, especially after Diddy grew closer to Cassie following the death of Kim Porter and his move to Los Angeles. Despite the defense's best efforts to discredit Capricorn Clark, her testimony delivered a powerful blow that few in the courtroom saw coming. What started as an attempt to paint her as bitter or jealous quickly unraveled as Clark shared a disturbing behind-the-scenes look at life inside Bad Boy Records and the toxic, even criminal environment she says surrounded Diddy. Clark didn't hold back. She described Bad Boy as a place where fear ruled and loyalty was questioned at every turn. Her first day on the job set the tone. After Diddy found out she had previously worked with Death Row Records, the infamous West Coast label once at war with Bad Boy during the East Coast vs. West Coast rap feud, he allegedly looked her dead in the eyes and said, "If anything goes wrong, I might have to kill you." It wasn't a joke. For Clark, it was a grim introduction to the chaos that would follow. Things only got more twisted. At one point, Clark was accused of stealing, a claim she denies, and was forced to take a lie detector test. But this wasn't in a professional setting. According to her, the test was held in a shady, deteriorating building. Diddy wasn't there himself, but his people were. The examiner delivered a terrifying threat. Fail the test, and you're going into the East River. It was the kind of moment you'd expect in a gangster film, not a music label. Despite all this, Clark stayed. Why? Because as she explained, working at Bad Boy Records was a career-defining opportunity. She believed in the music, the culture, and what being part of that world meant, even if it meant constantly looking over her shoulder. But her loyalty didn't stop Diddy from seeing her as a potential threat. She testified that he never fully trusted her, and that paranoia came to a head during an explosive incident involving rapper Kid Cudi. In December, Clark claimed Diddy showed up at her place armed and furious, demanding to know who Scott was, referring to Cudi's real name. Diddy had discovered Cassie, his longtime partner, was seeing Cudi and his rage spiraled. According to Clark, what followed was a violent outburst. Diddy allegedly broke into Kid Cudi's home and trashed it. Clark, who had stayed behind outside, immediately warned Cassie using a burner phone. In an effort to cover her tracks, she changed the contact name in her phone, but it didn't work. Diddy checked her phone, saw the last call, and dialed it. Cassie picked up, and in that moment, everything changed. Clark said Diddy exploded in anger. His suspicions about her deepened, and the threats became more intense.
At a burner phone, that she had been secretly having this relationship with Kid Cudi, that he began to violently beat her, and that he was kicking her over and over in front of herself, Capricorn Clark, and someone else from Combs' security team, that she was in a fetal position, and he kicked her with full force from the front door all the way to the street.
She described how he became increasingly volatile, blaming her for warning Cassie and interfering with his plans. But things escalated even further when he allegedly ordered both Clark and Cassie to do damage control by silencing Kid Cudi. And this wasn't just a simple request. According to Clark, Diddy made it terrifyingly clear what would happen if they didn't succeed. She testified that he told them to convince Cudi not to go to the police, and if they failed, there would be deadly consequences. "If you don't convince him of that," Clark recalled him saying, "I'll kill you all." The line stunned the courtroom. It was the kind of threat that made it hard to see this as just another celebrity scandal. Clark's words helped piece together a much larger narrative, one of intimidation, manipulation, and violence. Her story gave weight to the prosecution's claim that this wasn't about isolated incidents, but a pattern of criminal behavior that fit the framework of a racketeering case. Clark's testimony may have started with the defense trying to discredit her, painting her as jealous or bitter over Cassie's close relationship with Diddy, but by the end, it was clear she had become one of the prosecution's most powerful voices. Her detailed, emotionally charged account gave the jury a chilling glimpse into the world behind the music, where power was abused, fear was currency, and silence was expected. And if her story holds up, it could change everything. Up until that point, Diddy's defense team had been working hard to portray him as a misunderstood figure, someone entangled in complicated personal drama, not a criminal mastermind. But when Clark began recounting what happened with Kid Cudi, the tone in the room shifted. This wasn't just about jealousy or bad blood anymore. This was about control, fear, and a disturbing pattern of threats and intimidation. Clark made it clear, Diddy wasn't just watching Cassie, he was watching everyone around her, including Clark herself. She told the court how one night in December, Diddy showed up at her house raging and carrying a gun. He was furious after discovering Cassie was dating Kid Cudi, whose real name, Scott, he'd recently learned. Clark described how he stormed her place, demanding to know who Scott was. And when he got the answer, it set off a chain of events straight out of a psychological thriller. What hit hardest was the way her story wove together moments that might have seemed unrelated threats, intimidation, silence into a single narrative. Diddy as a leader, not just of a record label, but of what the prosecution framed as an organized system built on control. Suddenly, the racketeering charges didn't sound so far-fetched. This wasn't just about one person lashing out, it was about a pattern. Clark's credibility was crucial. The defense tried to dismiss her, suggested she had emotional motives, that she was biased or had a personal vendetta. But her testimony felt detailed, emotionally grounded, and consistent. She didn't just talk about one terrifying encounter. She painted a picture of day-to-day life under constant surveillance, threats, and manipulation. By the end of the session, the energy in the courtroom had shifted. The jurors were no longer looking at Diddy as just a celebrity or a powerful executive. They were beginning to see him, at least through Clark's eyes, as someone capable of orchestrating a culture of fear that extended far beyond personal relationships. And what made it even more chilling was how close Clark had been to Diddy. She wasn't a distant outsider. She was part of his inner circle. She had seen the machine from the inside. And now, standing in front of a jury, she was describing it, piece by piece, from the paranoia to the punishments. For the prosecution, it was a major win. Clark emerged as more than just a witness, she became a cornerstone of their case. Her testimony supported earlier allegations and gave them the emotional and legal weight they had been missing. If the jury believed her, and from the looks in the courtroom, many did, then the image of Diddy changed completely. No longer just a musical mogul, no longer just a man with a temper, but possibly the head of an operation where fear, intimidation, and silence were part of the business model. In the end, Clark's story didn't just spotlight a dangerous incident with Kid Cudi, it unraveled a bigger truth, a culture where power ruled, and stepping out of line could cost you everything.